back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert K. Sarkos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to the community. It's a Friday morning, and we are here for the Friday morning sports update. It's about 26 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m., 25 minutes beyond when we should have started this podcast. But I know. It's a Friday, not that I was lazy yet, but my morning routine sort of got in the way, as things dragged on a little longer than I'd hoped for. Anyways, in terms of my morning duties. But it's good that we are here, so let's get started with the conversation today. Once again, we'll be speaking transfers, we'll be speaking about your latest news from your favorite Premier League teams and beyond, depending on what the news is available and what it has to say. But yeah, it's always a pleasure to be back on here to discuss the latest in the world of sport with the rest of you guys. Thank you so much to our new subscribers and welcome to the Football Tribe UG community. I hope you do go ahead to enjoy your stay while here with us, just like those that have come before you, enjoying it and, keeping us good company and, engaging us directly in fruitful conversations, in fruitful debates, and, engagements over matters regarding football. Anyways, just updating our headline so that we know what the main topic will be. I call this a Friday morning update. So yeah. Anyways, also allow me have our audios tested to make sure everything does check out. I wouldn't want us to be, jabbering here when our audios are off. We burnt our fingers one too many times for us not to respect that routine. Anyways, I think everything is good to go. I think we're good to go on that front. Now, just waiting for the rest of you guys to join. Hi, Nick. Nick is the first to join us this morning. Hi, Nick. How are you doing? Nick Gignac. Nick Gignac. Hi. Where are you joining us from? It's a pleasure to have you around. Do let me know where you're joining us from this beautiful Friday morning. But anyways. Okay, so this morning, once again, we will go back to Manchester and speak the latest in regards to transfer news that is coming out of Manchester. I don't know, just bored. Okay, that's something. Where are you joining us from and what time is it? Usually that helps me to understand the context within which our people or followers do join us. And yeah, Tony Fabian, Enrique Garcia. You say Pasia? That's why. And it's 1:30 a.m. 1:30 a.m. Are you from the US? Nick Kidnap, are you from the US? Usually our people from the US are the ones that do join us when the times are looking like that. Oh, okay, that's good. Good to know. We do have some friends from over there in the USA. We do have a colleague called calls himself Snow LFC. He's from Oklahoma. We do have another colleague from Chicago. But thank you for joining us on the community this morning. Kindly consider subscribing to the channel and help me on my journey to 2,000 subscribers. That's a mission at the moment. But also leave me a like on the podcast. So for those of you that are just joining us, my name is Robert, and I'm coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda. Welcome to the Football Tribe UG community. It's a football channel, it's a sports channel. We do get to discuss the latest from the world of football and transfers at the moment around the Premier League and beyond. So it's a pleasure to have you around. Game Win was asking, I hope I've answered your question, but thank you so much for asking, Game Win. It's good to have you on the broadcast. So yeah, and every single one of you, wherever it is that you're joining us from, whatever the timeline is that you're watching in us from, I know people sacrifice a lot to, people sacrifice a lot to spend time with us. People sacrifice their sleep. People take moments, off their work. Others watch us while they continue to work. Thoughts on the Rashford trade. I think it's a very, very good deal for Barcelona, knowing that they do get the player without having to pay an initial loan fee. All they have to do is pay his wages in full, for which multiple reports did suggest that he took a 15% a pay cut to ensure that move. He's so far scored one goal. That goal, in one of those games that they were having in their Asian tour. So it's looking good. At the age of 27, I think he's experienced enough to go to Barcelona and put in the shift. He's going to be looked at as one of the senior players within that squad because he's well within the same age brackets with the likes of Rafinha, of course, Robert Lewandowski's much of their senior is 36 coming on 37. But when you look at the entire composition of Barcelona, he does stand as one of the senior players, and he comes with a lot of experience in his leagues, both in Europe as well as in terms of leagues, although he's never played in the Spanish La Liga, so that will be an issue for him. It will be something for him to try and get himself acclimatized to the environment as soon as possible. But it is a dream move for Marcus Rashford. My hope that he does thrive, and my expectation is that he will thrive in that kind of Barcelona system that does create lots of chances, and we know he likes to be at the end of a scoring line. So I think it's a very, very good deal. They have an option to buy him for 30 million euros at the end of his loan spell. Getting a player of Marcus Rashford's experience for 30 million euros is something that is not very common. It's not something very common. Look at Darwin Núñez leaving Liverpool to go to join our flag. He's leaving for 53 million euros. You look at those kinds of figures. Look at Benjamin Sesko, who's never scored 30 goals in a calendar year. At club level, and he's gotten what, a 76.5 million euro move plus 8.5 million euros in add-ons, guaranteeing almost an 85 million euro deal. I know he's the age being just 22, and perhaps the sky is the limit for him, but when you compare some of those figures to what Marcus Rashford has gone for, you really, really look at it and say, what a deal Barcelona have managed to negotiate for themselves. Look at players like Jamie Gittens, leaving Borussia Dortmund, coming to Chelsea, coming in for about 52 million pounds, 53 around there. Same goes for Noni Madueke, moving in the opposite direction from Chelsea to Arsenal, and things like that. So when you compare Marcus Rashford's deal to him going to Barcelona and factor in the finances that are involved in, you can't help but think that it's a very brilliant move for Barcelona. You can only hope that Barcelona can register him despite their challenges financially, not in terms of having cash, but in terms of registering new players with La Liga. And we do hope he will thrive, and I think he will thrive under Hansi Flick. Timam Taus, good to have you back on the podcast. Do you talk about the Eredivisie from Netherlands? Not very often, I'm afraid. Not very often, not very much, because when it comes to the Dutch Eredivisie, I'll be honest with you, usually we have the interaction with those teams at the level of the European competitions. When Ajax is playing maybe in the UEFA Champions League or in the UEFA Europa League, when you have PSV in the UEFA Champions League, we know that they were in the UEFA Champions League last season and got knocked out by Arsenal at the round of 16. That game that ended 7-1, in Netherlands, and then a 2-2 draw at the Emirates Stadium, and things like that. So I can't sit here and give you the breakdown of the Dutch Eredivisie as I would give you one of the Premier League or perhaps the Spanish La Liga and the Italian Serie A and things like that. Part of the reason for that is also the limited access that I tend to have when it comes to all-round European games. My access is still limited in more ways than I could care to admit. But yeah, we'll look to perhaps do a little more in the future when it comes to the Dutch Eredivisie. But yeah, that's how I would answer that. Willie Giddy says, "Way Viva Mexico, Way Viva Mexico," whatever that means. I think Viva, what does Viva mean? I do not know. Anybody that knows Mexican or Spanish more than I do, please help me interpret. But he says, "Way Viva Mexico." Who is your favorite team? Nick Igna is asking. First of all, I'll say I'm a sports guy. I do love sports entirely, but with a bias for football. Now, I'm a football fan first before any teams. However, I do pay allegiance to Arsenal. I do pay allegiance to Real Madrid as some of the primary teams. But Give me any game, I'll watch the game. I'll enjoy the game as it comes. So usually I tend to root for the underdog, depending on the game. Then I don't know what the emoji means. Is that somebody sipping on a cigar? Willie D, GD. Anyways, whatever that is, whatever that is. But thank you so much, Nick, for getting us, for helping us break the ice on this Friday morning sport conversation. Again, let's kick things off with Manchester United because Benjamin Sesko is expected to undergo his medicals in Manchester today ahead of completing that move from RB Leipzig to Manchester United. Worth a deal worth 85 million euros. That's what Manchester United are expected to pay for the 22-year-old Slovenian striker who managed to score 13 goals and provide 5 assists in the German Bundesliga last season. Another huge investment in a young talent for Manchester United, one that they've done one too many times before, and we hope that this one will be a success. I do think it will be a success, and not because things have changed for Manchester United for the greater fortunes, but I think I've been impressed in what I've seen with Manchester United during the course of pre-season. Even though there's a lot to be desired, I think I've been really, really impressed, and I think he will thrive in that Manchester United system. You look at players that are similar to him, like Rasmus Højlund, things have not really, really gone very well on for him, although his debut campaign was really, really good. He scored 10 Premier League goals, and then I think he scored 5 goals in the UEFA Champions League, which gave him a 15-goal, tally, and he had a couple of assists here and there. I think one in the UEFA Champions League and about 2 in the Premier League. So the first season wasn't that bad. Last season wasn't any good at all. While he managed to score, I think, about 6 goals in the UEFA Europa League, in the Premier League, he could only afford 4. So Ruben Amorim has assessed that, and although he's not said it outrightly that he's surplus to requirements, they are looking to move him on, and they do value the player at around £40 million at the moment. So if you do have £40 million and you're in the market for a striker, then Rasmus Højlund could be that player that you are looking for. It's a bit of a raise from the £30 million as earlier reported. I think, perhaps what they've seen in recent times, given what other players have been going for in the market, have forced Manchester United to sort of shift their stance of valuation on the player. But Benjamin Sesko to undergo his medicals today and complete that move to Manchester United and put pen to paper on a 5-year contract. The initial guaranteed fees will be 76.5 million euros that United will get to pay, plus another 8.5 million euros in expected add-ons. According to those privy to some particulars of the deal, they say that the add-ons will be easily achievable add-ons. But also, as part of that deal, RB Leipzig will get to play a friendly game with Manchester United at the Red Bull Arena. Whenever that will be, we will perhaps wait to find out in the future. But RB Leipzig will stand apparently to make a fee in the region of 1.5 to 2 million euros if that friendly is to be played. And then also, according to Florian Plettenberg of Sky Sports Germany, RB Leipzig do retain a future sell-on clause. What the size of the percentage is, I'm yet to find out, but as soon as I know, I will be letting you know. So those are some of the details and the particulars that you need to know when it comes to that deal regarding Benjamin Sesko's move to Manchester United. Did travel to Manchester last night/evening, and spent there the night before, and he's set to undergo his medicals today and complete that move as a new Manchester United player. Very, very good addition. He does stand to be Manchester United's third foremost signing of the summer. Although Diego Leon did arrive this summer, they had already agreed that fee back in January for Diego Leon to join Manchester United. But now Benjamin Sesko will be joining Matas Cunha and Bani Bomo, who have all joined Manchester United during the course of this transfer window at the fee of £62.5 million and £71 million respectively. So Man United have had quite the financial outlay. And for those of you I know the Glazers get criticized a great deal about how they do milk the club for profit without investing in it. But I think over the years, I've seen some significant investments into Manchester United. And I think for those that have been bashing Ineos and their lack of knowledge for football, they are slow in conducting business, and maybe, yes, oftentimes our clubs are slow in conducting business best or against our own personal preferences, even though we do not know sometimes the intricacies that it takes to strike some of these deals. Other clubs make it look so simple. For example, teams like Chelsea, usually when Chelsea are intent on signing a player, there's a way they just make it all move swiftly. They do not drag their feet when it comes to negotiations. Yes, sometimes those negotiations drag on. For example, like what we saw in the Jamie Gittens deal when he was leaving BVB to join Chelsea and things like that. But when you look at the deal for Joao Pedro, wow, you're like, wow, that was really, really fast. You know, when you look at some of the other deals that they did, Mamadou Sarr, you remember in January when they went to sign Jovan Quenda and Dario Esugo from Las Palmas and things like that. So they tend to create the impression that sometimes signing a player is as easy as walking in the park. But if anything, Newcastle will tell you that signing a player is never an easy thing because they missed out on majority of their prime targets. So I will say congratulations in advance to Manchester United. Now, Manchester United want to remain in the market and explore their options while they are looking to raise at least 90 to 100 million pounds from player sales and perhaps even more because they really, while they've spent quite some money, they also need to bring back in some money. And they are looking to raise money from the sale of Rasmus Højlund with reported interest from teams like RB Leipzig are interested. Bayer Leverkusen in Germany is also interested. Apparently, RB Leipzig made inquiries about Rasmus Højlund during negotiations for Benjamin Sesko. Inter Milan, AC Milan, and Juventus are the other three Italian Serie A teams that are interested in the services of the 22-year-old Danish striker. So let's wait and see. And Man United do value him at about 40 million pounds, which I believe 40 million pounds is not too big a financial outlay to make on a player that is only 22 years of age and has still has a whole future ahead of him. He's far from a finished product, but at least in the Italian Serie A, I think he's already proven himself that he can be a potent goal scorer. In the Premier League, not well proven, but for teams like Newcastle that are that are in the search for a striker, if push comes to shove, maybe they could turn their eye on Rasmus Højlund, although I'm not saying he's been linked with the potential move from Newcastle. For a team like Bayer Leverkusen, of course, they are under the charges of the former Manchester United gaffer in Erik ten Hag, who was the one in charge when they did sign him from Atlanta. So, but also, I think, any of those teams will be a good fit for Rasmus Højlund. Because for me, part of the criticism that I may have on him in his defense is that United are not been on the team that has been creating lots of chances in recent times. So you could cut him some slack. Of course, he does miss plenty, like any other striker, but yeah, they want to raise at least 40 million pounds for himself. Then the other player that they want to raise some money out of is Alejandro Garnacho, for whom they are already into negotiations with Chelsea over the transfer of the 21-year-old Argentine winger. And Chelsea were interested in his services in January, but they were unable to strike an agreement with the Red Devils. With the Red Devils at the time believed to have been valuing the player at around 60 million pounds. And Napoli were one of the teams that were equally interested, and they made a bid worth apparently about 50 million euros, which was below Manchester United's valuation. Now, things took a turn. We had the turn of events now that Manchester United are desperate, almost moving on. That price tag has gone down at least by 10 million pounds best from what the valuation was in January, and it is believed that they want at least 50 million pounds. Chelsea do believe that they could get a player for slightly lesser than that, but if I'm Manchester United, there's no way I'm letting Alejandro Garnacho go to Chelsea for less than that. If Chelsea have just signed Joao Pedro for 55 million pounds guaranteed fees plus 5 million pounds in future add-ons, when they've just signed Jamie Gittens for 48 million pounds. I think 48 point something million pounds plus plus about 3.5 million pounds in future add-ons. So I wouldn't willing to be bought for less than 50 for Garnacho in total valuation. You look at what Chelsea again paid to bring in other players, and so you look at all that and think to yourself, we will stick to our guns. You look at how the deal they negotiated with Arsenal for the transfer of Noni Madueke, worth 52 million pounds. So I mean, the players are within the same brackets. So I think Man United are looking to raise that amount of money around 90 to 100 million pounds to bring him back, to bring in back some money and help to balance their books. Then the other key news in as far as the transfer window is concerned, of course, Manchester United are interested in signing Carlos Baleba. The 21-year-old Cameroon international is of his light, well appreciated at Manchester United. Ruben Amorim does appreciate him really. He would want him in his team, perhaps to play ahead of the likes of Casemiro, Manuel Ugarte, and players like that. He's very, very interesting young talent, box-to-box kind of central midfielder, good at winning ball the back. Good at winning the ball back, very press resistant and things like that. So he's a very, very exciting talent that Brighton, I'm sure, wouldn't want to lose at this stage, especially after just one season with them. But more importantly, if they are going to lose him, it's going to be for quite a significant fee. According to some reports, Manchester United do value Carlos Baleba at around 70 million pounds, while Brighton and Hove Albion, I'm sure, won't be inclined to let the player go for perhaps less than 80 to 100 million pounds. But bearing in mind that Moises Caicedo went for at least 115 million pounds from the same club to Chelsea, while Liverpool were also willing to pay 110 million pounds for the same player at the time. So, based on Brighton and Hove Albion's history, I do not see any inclination whatsoever for them to be letting go of Carlos Baleba for anything less than that. Anyways, let's move away from that and go elsewhere. Let's take the trip to West Ham, because West Ham did agree a 20 million pound fee, although some sources suggest it's 18 million pounds for the signing of Leicester City goalkeeper Mads Hermansen. There. So we know West Ham have been in the market for a goalkeeper. They did make inquiries about the availability of Robert Sanchez at Chelsea, and Chelsea said he is not for sale, but they are getting themselves Mads Hermansen to compete for that number one spot with Alfonso Ariola. And remember, West Ham United did part ways with Lucas Fabianski at the end of his contract. So that's another brilliant deal. Then David Moyes is believed to be the perfect manager for Jack Grealish. Remember, Everton have already entered talks with Manchester City over a potential deal for Jack Grealish. The 29-year-old still has 2 years left in his current contract, and Everton would love to get him on an initial loan deal. Whether that loan deal would, include an option to buy or an obligation to buy, depending on certain achievements, remains to be seen. But the two clubs are in contact with each other. Tottenham are the other team that are also interested in signing Jack Grealish. Now, the only standing block in part of this deal will be the player's wages, because he is on significantly very high wages at Manchester City. That I do not think Tottenham or Everton will be willing to match. But according to Sammy Mokbel of BBC Sport, he says David Moyes is the perfect manager to get the best out of Jack Grealish. Thomas Tuchel sees him as a starter for England. So that's those were some of the comments of BBC Sport reporter Sammy Mokbel was speaking to BBC 5 Live Sport. So then also yesterday, we did receive the unfortunate news regarding James Maddison, as he suffered an anterior cruciate ligament injury that will see him out of action for the next 6 to 7 months. So possibly we'll get to see him back around late January, February, or even early March, depending on how his road to recovery goes. But he's he's already undergone. He's set to undergo surgery. Then also the other player that has reportedly suffered an anterior cruciate ligament is Chelsea's Levi Colwill, one of their most reliable centre backs. Will Chelsea be in the market for another centre back? Chances are. Son of Soweto. Hi, son of Soweto. Good morning to you too. Welcome to the Football Tribe UG channel. Where are you joining us from? Are you joining us from South Africa in Soweto? Where? Speaking of South Africa, greetings to you, Mr. Pressing Kosi, as well as testers of life from Gauteng, South Africa. It's always a pleasure to see you guys around. Although we haven't been with Pressing Kosi in a bit. Sundowns is being Leseja. Okay, are you a Mamelodi Sundowns fan? I'm joining you from Uganda, where our very own Dennis Masinde Onyango does ply his trade at Sundowns. Okay. Oh, you're saying Sundowns is buying Leseja. Okay, very good. Thanks for the update. Good morning, Shumail. How are you, my brother? How are you doing? Welcome to yet another morning of Friday Sports Update. Anyways, of course, we all know that a deal has already been agreed for Darwin Nunes. He did travel, I think he has traveled to Germany to undergo his medicals ahead of completing that move to Al Hilal on a 3-year contract. Shumail is fine. That's very, very good and encouraging to hear. Then Nunes is average. If his Liverpool career for the last 3 years is anything to go by, then I definitely agree with you that he's been average, perhaps even far from average sometimes. I do not watch Colonizers Football League. Okay, thank you for that information. Son of Soweto here is a fan of. I'm assuming he's a fan of Mamelodi Sundowns. He says he does not watch Premier League football, Spanish La Liga, or any European football. I do not know if he watches the UEFA Champions League or it also passes for colonizers football. After all, it's still European football, but he does support the domestic league there in South Africa. Very, very interesting. I do not think he's alone. We do have, a great deal of many of those. For some of us, it's a job that we get to do as well as watching those, yes, Mamelodi Sundowns. Who is the current coach for Mamelodi Sundowns? Remind me. His name oftentimes goes off my fingertips because I know Rulani moved on, Coach Rulani, and also the other manager's name that oftentimes slips my mind is the manager that guided you to the 2016 Africa Champions League or CAF Champions League. Let me see. Rashford is trash. That's according to Smile. Rashford last good season was 3 years ago. But Smile, there's nothing to say that he cannot recoup that form. Miguel Cardoso. Okay, Miguel Cardoso. So thank you. So thank you so much for reminding me. Also remind me the manager that guided you to the 26 CAF Champions League before moving on to Al Ahly in Egypt. For some reason, his name keeps eluding my mind, but he's a very, very interesting figure in South African football. But thank you so much for being home to Dennis Masinde Onyango, and I hope you go on to sign many other, Ugandan footballers. Statute is the most overrated player. You mean Marc-Andre ter Stegen? Yes, Pitso Musmani. Yes, Pitso Musmani. Yes, that's the name I was looking for in my head. Inigo was 34. When you say Statute is the most overrated player, do you mean Marc-Andre ter Stegen? Because I do not think he's overrated. Yes, he might have had a dip in form, pretty much like Rashford has undergone, but I do not think he's a bad player. Meanwhile, Barcelona have stripped him of his captaincy as part of disciplinary proceedings, and His duties as team captain will be assumed by his deputy in Ronald Araujo. There, the Ugandan Football League needs more funding because there are many talented footballers, but it is about the structure. I certainly do agree with you. We need a lot of funding to invest, first of all, in grassroots football development. That's academies, but also facilities where these kids can play football from. There's a new wave of artificial turf, but it's predominantly built for Sunday league. I don't know if you understand by what I mean by Sunday league, but it means non-professional footballers, regular people that get a kick of the ball about on weekends and Friday evenings and things like that after their daily duties. But yeah, the Ugandan football needs a lot of investment when it comes to the physical infrastructure that helps facilitate the game, setting up of academies to nurture talent, but also the league needs a lot of more funding in terms of prize money to improve on. And by the way, it's not just about the Ugandan league. I've always been of the view that East Africa needs to create their own mini competition, which is already there, but the Sekafa Kagame Cup. I wanted that competition. Apologies on that internet glitch. We may experience a little, perhaps more, in the course of this broadcast, but I pray and request that you please bear with me while we do experience those glitches. I pray they do not happen again. But I was speaking about the Sekafa region, and I was saying we do have the Sekafa Kagame Cup. I've always been of the view that if the title-winning champion in our domestic leagues gets to play in the CAF Champions League, and the winner of the domestic cup, which usually is the Uganda Cup, formerly known as the Kakunguru Cup, features in the CAF Confederations Cup, then we must find a room to accommodate to say that if you finish second, third, and fourth, you're going to play in the Sekafa. Let's have teams from Uganda, teams from Rwanda, teams from Tanzania, teams from Kenya. That's already 4 countries. Perhaps expand it to even teams from I don't know if there's the Burundi league, but and let's have a serious tournament when it comes to the Sekafa Cup. That will help to nurture talent, further expose our players. But also in terms of prize money, let me give you a few figures that may actually alarm your ears. I do not know what kind of money, in terms of prize money, at the end of the season that is awarded to the winning team in the South African domestic league and the bottom team. But here in Uganda, the winning team, if you do win the league title, you get about 60 million shillings, which translates to about less than $20,000. It's actually about $17,000 per winning team. You can imagine. Then the bottom team on the league table gets 500,000. You know what 500,000 is? That's about $145. You can imagine. So 100 now you're being alarmed by the $20K for the winner, but a team that gets relegated gets $145. That's about 500,000. Now that's money that you give. If you have, let's say, a squad of 25 players as 5 coaches, that's 30. So if you give them 10,000 each, which is approximately slightly below $3 as transport money, you're left with only 200K. So that's how bad it is when it comes to prize money. So then there's some monies that does come from the league sponsor in this as StarTimes, because StarTimes is the league sponsor. Now that money delays, it takes long to come. I'll give you another example. Our referees take long to be paid. You'll find that they are demanding money for 4 or 5 months, even 6 months. And guess what? It's not like they get paid much. They earn about 100,000 shillings, which translates to about what? It translates to, let me see, should translate to about $30 to $40 per game, 100,000 shillings. So those are the kinds of finances that we're discussing in this context. So the investment in our domestic league is miles far from wanting. Now you can imagine a team like Mamelodi Sundowns who you're supposed to, as the domestic league winner, who you're supposed to meet in the CAF Champions League and compete with them, just got about 9.5 million euros for just participating in the FIFA Club World Cup. In the FIFA Club World Cup. So approximately they could have earned themselves about 12 million euros from participating in the FIFA Club World Cup. Now I know it's not a competition that comes every year, but 12 million euros, that's enough money to run you for the next 3-4 years, until the next FIFA Club World Cup for a team from South Africa, So anyways, that's part of it. Let me see. The statue was good 9 years ago. That's according to Shmail. Man United are scouting Man United are scouting Ghanaian players. What Ghanaian players? Please bring me in the Shmail. Bring me in the know on that about the Ghanaian players that are being scouted. But the thing with football is that teams are always scouting for good players, regardless of where they may come from. Then also you say, okay. Ter Stegen is a good player, except playing. Very funny, Ishmael. Son of Soweto says, why do you think no East African club has won CAF Champions League since independence? Definitely. But I mean, around us you have countries that have better leagues that pay well, that pay their players well, that have some good prize money. You look at the Tanzanian Premier League, look at the Kenyan Premier League, and they are much better than the Ugandan league domestically. Not in terms of football quality, but even in terms of football quality to some extent, but also when it comes to the resources within the game and how much they pay their players, and that kind of thing. So that's why in recent times you've had teams like Simba, teams like Young Africans really competing well at the continent, whether it's in the CAF Confederations Cup or the UEFA Champions League, or the CAF Champions League and things like that. Then you say, how many countries are in the East African community? Let me see. There's Uganda, there's Kenya, there's Tanzania, there's Rwanda, there's Burundi, there's DRC Congo. I think those are and South Sudan. No, South Sudan put in an application, I think, to join. I don't know if they've since been granted the permission to join. I think they're a member now. There are about 7 countries. So you can imagine if you can bring together 7 countries that whoever finishes second to fourth within those 7 countries, let's play in this mega competition, and it will be hosted in a round-robin format for countries that are stable: Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, maybe even Rwanda. Rwanda has very good sporting facilities and things like that. And we raise the prize money. For example, the winner of the Sekafa Kagame Cup earns themselves $30,000. Now, $30,000 again is almost just slightly above 100 million Uganda shillings. Again, it's still small money. So when it comes to that, but there should be monies that clubs get, one, to compete, to participate, and then also at whatever stage you finish within that mini tournament, should be earning you some money. LFC, hi, you're back with us. Good morning. Good to have you back. I'm watching from my holiday in Spain. How is Spain? How is your holiday treating you? It's always a pleasure to see you around LFC M4L. LFC is a Liverpool fan there, currently on holiday to Spain. Son of Soweto says less than 20K. Wow, it's bad. Wow. Why do you think no is of concern? Okay, I think we'll discuss that. Patrice Motsepe is also a wealthy man, and there is a lot of investment. Yeah, that's true. Those are people that have committed to investing in football, but also to some extent, football has reached a bit of profitability, or at least broken even in some of those areas. Whereas in Uganda, I do not think there's a club that breaks even, by the way. Maybe 1 or 2 come close or break even, but they're not profit making. So we still need a lot of investments, both from well-wishers and even with the fans in general, or people that love football. We need to have part in that. But part of the reason as to why there's again low investment is our structures. We need infrastructure. We need good pitch. We need good stadiums, and then we need good marketing to market the domestic league. We need players to be transformed. And now we do have a domestic league where you hear in some clubs that players have gone 3, 4, 5 months without pay, and sometimes players threaten to go on strike. So that's how bad it is. Is LFC walking alone in Spain? I would want to assume that he has his partner with him, but he does hail from, I think he does hail from the UK. No, he does hail from France, and then he's currently in Spain for his holiday. As far as my memory serves me, by the way, I stand to be corrected. Also, you say Mazembe is the best football club in East Africa. Yes, TP Mazembe, again, owned by a very, very wealthy man who's really, really invested in them. They even have a private jet or their own plane and things like that. Okay, I think I've gone through all the comments. But when you look at the picture of East African football, it's no surprise that Uganda were beaten by 3-0. Just well, when was that? Was that on Monday? Yes, on Monday by Algeria in the ongoing, African Nations Championships. And I know today, South Africa are in action against Algeria. I think that game does kick off at about 5 p.m. East African time. It should be around 4 p.m. South African time because we're 1 hour ahead of you guys. So yeah, walking alone is the Liverpool song. Yes, I know about the song. And their mantra. But yeah. So, anyways, guys, today in the African Nations Championships, like I said, Algeria are up against South Africa. Bafana are in action today for the first time in this tournament, while Uganda will be up against Guinea to complete match day 2, and then match day 3 will come on Saturday. Central African Republic take on Mauritania. Tanzania will be up against Madagascar, while on Sunday Kenya will be up against Morocco. Zambia will play Angola, and then on Monday South Africa will be up against Guinea, while Uganda will play Niger. And I think match day 2 will also continue when Senegal take on Congo on Tuesday, 12th August. Now, the reason as to why there's variations in this thing is some groups have 5 teams, while other groups have 4 teams. But they will go until match day 5. When you look at the tables, you have Tanzania and Kenya leading their groups. Kenya is in Group A with Morocco, DR Congo, Angola, and Zambia. Tanzania in Group B and they are leading that group with 6 points, 3-goal squad in both games, no goals conceded. Burkina Faso with 3 points in second place, Madagascar with a point, that's in third place, and Mauritania in fourth place, while Central Africa Republic is fifth. In Group C, where Uganda are the bottom of that group, Algeria does lead the pile with 3 points, Guinea with 3 points. Guinea beat up against Niger in the opening fixture by 0-0. South Africa are yet to play a game, and their first game is today against Algeria. In Group E, we have 4 teams. That's Senegal, Congo, as well as Sudan and Nigeria. Remember, Senegal did beat up against Nigeria by 0-0 in the opening fixture, while Sudan and Congo did share the spoils in a 1-1 draw. So that's the African Nations Championships that are ongoing here in East Africa. They are being hosted by Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania under the Pamoja campaign, because they are also, this is part preparation for the 3 East African countries to host the Africa Cup of Nations come 2027. Anyways, allow me move away from all that and let's rush to the latest from the world of transfer gossip and speculation as of this Friday morning. Quickly, Bayern Munich have inquired about 24-year-old Senegalese striker Nicholas Jackson, who is valued at about £48.5 million and is also a target for Newcastle United. That's according to Sky Sports Germany. The Newcastle striker Alexander Isak will not play for the club in the preseason games against Espanyol and Atletico de Madrid this weekend amidst uncertainty about his future and interest from Liverpool. That's according to Mail Sport. Yesterday, I did report to you that Alexander Isak has been asked to train alone away from the main squad, having objected out of the squad that did travel to Asia for Newcastle's pre-season. Then AC Milan are interested in taking Rasmus Højlund from Manchester United. The 22-year-old is available for about £30 million, but Milan are keen on a loan move. That's according to Gazette dello Sport. While Tottenham have had. Now, like I've told you, Bayer Leverkusen, RB Leipzig, Inter Milan, AC Milan, and Juventus are all interested in Rasmus Højlund. And when it comes to Nicholas Jackson, Bayern Munich made inquiries, and Newcastle remain interested. And there's an Aston Villa who are also interested, but they did sign. What's his name? Eversand, the French born Ivorian forward there. So yeah. Meanwhile, Tottenham have had a £30 million bid for Nico Paz turned down by Como, who value the 20-year-old Argentine attacking midfielder at about £52 million. That's according to Sky Sports Italy. Aston Villa have rejected an £18 million offer from Everton for Scotland midfielder Jean McGinn, who is also a target for Newcastle. That's according to Sky Sports News. Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr are ready to meet Brentford's asking price for a 28-year-old DR Congo forward, Yohan Wissa, who is also a target for Newcastle and Tottenham. That's according to Equipe. In France, or in French, a Spanish defender, Inigo Martinez, is set to have his contract cancelled at Barcelona and move to Al Nassr. That's according to Mundo Deportivo. Then Manchester City have turned down an offer from AC Roma for Argentine midfielder Claudio Echeverri, 19, as they want to loan him to Girona, who are under the City Football Group umbrella. While Preston North End are close to completing a loan move for Tottenham's under-21 England attacking midfielder Alfie Devine. So that's the latest from the world of football gossip and transfer speculation as compiled by BBC Sport. Yes, as compiled by BBC Sport. So, yeah, that's the latest transfer gossip and speculation regarding some of your favorite teams when it comes to, transfers. Lots of, I think we've discussed most of that. We talked about Jack Grealish. We talked about James Maddison's injury. We talked about Benjamin Sesko. We talked about Inigo Martinez, who is set to join, Al Nassr on an initial one-year deal with an option to extend for a further year. Then we've spoken about Alejandro Garnacho, Rasmus Højlund, Christopher Nkunku and Chelsea are both, ready to part ways this summer. And then we talked about Levi Colwill there. So, but Chelsea are yet to enter the market for a defender, as saying maybe if they move fast, they can sign Mark Gay from Crystal Palace. What else? I think we've discussed most of it. And then yesterday, Thomas Partey was officially unveiled as a new Villarreal player on a one-year deal as a free agent, although initial reports did suggest that it was going to be a two-year deal. So yeah, that's Thomas Partey for you, joining the Yellow Submarines there in the Spanish La Liga. Otherwise, allow me to say thank you, Nick Gignac. Thank you so much for being part of today's podcast. Game Win, thank you so much. Tony Fabian, Enrique Garcia, it was a pleasure seeing you around. Willie Giddy, Son of Soweto, Shmail, always a pleasure to see you guys around. LFC are there. It was a pleasure seeing you around. Thank you so much for being part of this morning, Friday morning sports update on your favorite football updates channel. That's at Football Tribe UG. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you guys next time. Stay blessed. Bye bye, and a nice weekend ahead. Bye bye.